How it goes, the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully, you guys having a great night. I can't believe it's been almost 3 weeks since I have been live on here, but life happens, and like I said, this year is going to be way different compared to what I used to do. Not putting out as much content because you have to handle your business first before you can do anything else. So there we go. Let me just get everything in order. And I usually don't go live on a Tuesday, but tomorrow's going to be a busy day, so I figured let me get this out the way now and be good to go. But anyways, we're talking about Black history, enough about me. We're talking Black history tonight. We're talking specifically about Black American history tonight, because that's really what Black History Month is about. I'm not as they say, no shade towards my Black brethren that are from the Caribbean or from Africa, because I got nothing but love for you. I have nothing but love for everybody from all over the world. I mean, culture is culture, and I love learning about various different cultures all the time, and I leave it at that. But tonight, I'm talking about Black Americans, so that's what it's going to be. And it's rich history, very rich history. The history that doesn't get talked about enough to me is the business ownership class, the real estate ownership class. The class of people, the caliber of people that displayed strong family values, economic values, helping people about, and being educated in various different aspects in various different ways, not just having a master's degree or a bachelor's degree or a doctorate, but being educated from being able to put people on a strict, on better paths, better helping people out in various different ways, help them, feeding people, service, public service, military service, just doing kind things without even trying to get the recognition. I know with it being 2024, we have the first generation doesn't know what it's like to have live life without social media. We have the first generation of young people that are in their teens now that have, for the most part, have always had electronics with them. You know, I'm an 80s baby, so there was a time when I didn't have a cell phone. Like I got one in my hand right now. There was a time when I did not even own a computer until I was 19, 20 years old. And I remember I bought it. And it was one of the old Dells. And it was a desktop. And I remember buying it um with my money that I received back from my tax refund, bought it cash money. This is before I even knew what credit was and how to, or even how to utilize credit. But I digress. Anyways, um, so I was able to, utilize analog world and navigate through the world of analog and navigate through the world of the digital world. So that's the beautiful thing about being an 80s baby. But you've had a generation of people that were born in 2000, um, 2005, and a lot of them are teenagers, a lot of them are grown. I mean, think about it, somebody who was born in 2002, you know they're 20 years old. They're 22 years old right now, or they're turning 22 years old right now. 2002, I graduated from high school. If you was born in 2002, 2003, 2004, you're fresh out of high school, you're in college, you might be in the military, or you're working a job, but you're in your early 20s right now. So you're the generation that, grew up with electronics, nothing but electronics. That's you're part of that generation. You're when I think about it now, it's like, matter of fact, you're the generation that didn't even know what it's like to have a cassette tape or a CD. You listening to music for you has always, and I mean always, been a digital thing. When I think about it now, and it's very interesting. Just thinking about that now. I never think about this stuff now. Because as I get older, I don't have children, but um, I look at the youth now that are in their late teens and the early 20s. I'm just like, yeah, this was a generation that, especially once they were in middle school and high school, it was normal for them to have a cell phone. You know, um, for the kids that are in grade school now in 2024, it's normal for them to have a cell phone, have constant access to the outside world. When I was in school, now that's why I said I feel like old man now. When I was in school, I didn't have access to the outside world. Matter of fact, didn't even have access to the internet until, and didn't even realize how to operate the internet until I got to high school, which was in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's crazy when I think about that. But anyways, I've gotten off of topic already, just starting off. I guess I'm getting a lot of this out of my system now because it's been almost 3 weeks since I've actually gone live. So it's all good. All right. So let's talk about some Black history that usually isn't discussed. And I've just found this article. I thought this was very interesting, from the Small Business Administration, United States of America, federal United States of America's Small Business Administration, which their job is basically to issue out grants for businesses, small businesses, aka it get access to capital for people. Um, Matter of fact, let me just read the actual what the SBA's mission is. I actually had a job interview with the SBA back during the pandemic. If I can find this, state of regular. Let's go back to where I was at. Okay. Because and I think that's the beautiful thing, because they work with state governments, local governments, um, to issue out loans, help people get right loans, connect people with the right sources in order for them to start a business or have a successful business, and especially people who are running nonprofit businesses, things of that nature. So That's the beautiful thing about the Small Business Administration. They offer loan assistance, funding programs, federal, access to how to get federal contracting, business guides, education, all these things. I think it's a beautiful thing what they do. So I have to give nothing but love and respect to them on that aspect. I was just trying to find a definition. Here it is about the SBA. Sorry, open government. They got like 1,000 things, but that's the gist of what they do. They help businesses thrive, help businesses survive. That is the primary objective of Small Business Administration. So, dreams. Here's a statement from their Black History Month that they put out there on their website. It says, "Dreams are lovely, but they are just dreams." I agree. It's hard work that makes things happen. It's hard work that creates change. Sandra Reams. SBA, Small Business Administration, celebrates and supports Black-owned small businesses. Every month, February commemorates Black History Month. SBA highlights resources, funding, and training available to Black-owned small businesses and entrepreneurs, because that's where we're at in the United States right now. Especially given the fact that you have an election going on. So, and you see a lot of people out there, they're like, look, I'm not voting Democrat or Republican unless you're talking about what is in it specifically for me from an economic standpoint, whether it's for specifically for Black businesses, specifically for Black people trying to go to school, or specifically for Black people trying to get access to things specifically for them. And there's nothing wrong with that, because other groups do the same thing. And that is the American way. Look out for your own best interest. It is what it is. Timeline of Black Americans in business. Philadelphia, 1810, the first Black insurance company. Regardless of what you want to say about Philadelphia, Black Philadelphians get it in regardless, whether they're educators or whether they're people who own businesses. I see it every time I've gone to Philly, and I've only been to Philadelphia 4 times. New York, 1821, Thomas Jennings becomes the first Black American to be granted a patent for his invention of the dry scoring process, a predecessor to today's dry cleaning methods. 1820, New York, 1827, the first Black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, is founded. Boston, 1900, the National Negro Business League is established by Booker T. Washington, ushering in what historians called the golden age of Black business until 1930. And it was. That is a time period in America that is not talked about enough. From the late 1800s to the 1970s, 1980s. Black Americans owned more businesses and more homes than they ever did in history, more land than they've ever had since in the history of this country, from the late 1800s to the 1970s and 80s. Especially given the fact that, one of the biggest reasons why Black businesses were thriving is because of segregation. Where, like I said, if I could say any good thing about segregation, is that I'm not a fan of segregation. But when you have a sense of culture, and you understand that having a sense of culture means sticking together, having a sense of from a family perspective, from a love perspective, and definitely from an economic perspective, you can't go wrong. And every group has that mindset, and I love that. I love that. So, with that being said, uh, with that being said, hold on one second, please. Yeah, sorry about that, family. But anyways, so at the end of the day, um, because when it comes to that, because black people were not allowed to, especially in the South, but other parts of the country, but specifically in the South, weren't allowed to use the same drinking water fountains, grocery stores, transportation. If they used transportation, they had to sit in the back of the bus. So black people had to be resilient, especially throughout the South, and say, hey, we'll have our own grocery stores, we'll have our own restaurants, we'll have our own nightclubs, we'll have our own churches, et cetera, and so forth. And it's like we're on our own houses. We essentially will have real communities, a real community, and not just a neighborhood. And that was the upside of segregation. The downside was, the lawlessness, being able to get killed, rape, pillage, whatnot, and not have any legal representation, not have any rights. So, like most of the time, anything in this world, there's pros and cons. All right. So I just want to put that out there. So that, like I said, the golden age of black businesses, like I said, was in the early 1930s up to the 1970s and 80s. You had integration, and a lot of people stopped using black-owned businesses. They moved to other neighborhoods where at one time they could not legally afford to live. So a lot of black neighborhoods have thus deteriorated because the working class and the moved out, upper working class moved out, and a lot of the business class either died out, the businesses died because people stopped using them, or they moved their business elsewhere where the businesses might have succeeded or might not have. But the people that were left in most of the black neighborhoods, unfortunately, were a majority of the bad apples, which is a sad but unfortunate thing. But like I said, some certain neighborhoods it's not like that, but it is what it is. Okay. So, Oklahoma, 1906, O.W. Gurley establishes the town of Greenwood. We've known about this. It's been acknowledged by the federal government. It's been acknowledged even by the state of Oklahoma about the town of Greenwood, the community of Greenwood in Oklahoma City, where bombings took place and basically burned down black neighborhoods and black businesses. All right. But anyways, um, founds the first O.W. Gurley founds the first business in what would later come to be known as the Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street's in Oklahoma, North Carolina, Florida, New York, DC. I mean, the list goes on and on. Nationwide, 1932, the Great Depression caused the African American unemployment rate to climb to approximately 50%. New York, 1945, rose Meta, which because of that happening, more and more black people had to become more resilient by not only trying to get skilled trades, but to have to create their own businesses and whatnot. So join the military. The list goes on and on. Public service jobs, to be more resilient. Families had to move in together, to put their dollars together. New York, 1945, Rose Meta Morgan opens a salon, uh, reowned renowned for celebrating Black women and Black standards of beauty. Chicago, 1971, Joan and George Johnson's co-founded hair care products company, Johnson's Products Company, becomes the first Black-owned company to be listed on the American Stock Exchange. The American Stock Exchange. That's a pretty big freaking deal, especially for 1971. I did not even know this, so this is great information. All right, nationwide, 2002 to 2007, the number of Black-owned businesses increased by 60%, more than triple the national rate of 18.0%, reaching at 1.9 million. Unfortunately, most Black businesses is usually just one person run. Like myself, I own 3 businesses, but I'm the only person. I'm the employee and the CEO all at the same time. Nationwide, 2002 to 2011, Black businesses experienced the largest growth in number of businesses seen in the century. Nationwide, 2010, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act assists Black-owned businesses in procuring federal contracts. That is a beautiful. I'm from the DMV area, so uh, the main reason why I don't understand why anybody would really hate the government, because the government, well, the federal, state, city, and county governments help make successful tradespeople and business people millionaires. Hence the words government contracts. The easiest contracts to obtain is the federal government contracts, regardless who's in the White House, regardless who's running Congress. Most people don't realize that. But Yeah, those are the easiest contracts to obtain compared to state contracts, whether you're in red state or blue state, city government contracts, and county government contracts, because it's more of a local bureaucratic process to it. Heck, a lot of times, especially if it's a small town, you have more. It's easier for the, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch your back kind of ordeal. So it's all about who's getting the funding. Once again, where's the money going? Who's getting access to the capital? Who's getting access to the contracts? That's all that matters at this point, especially for Black Americans. All right. That's why I have the money behind me, because of like, hey, it's like if you go to a business deal and nobody has money, then it's not a business deal. People are just talking. I keep it, if I could just keep it more simpler. If I'm going to work and at the end of the week or end of every 2 weeks I'm not getting paid, what am I working for? Once again, I have a car. I have to gas the car up. If I swipe my card and the card is declined, I don't get gas. I'll show my age again. I'm 41 years old. There was a time in America where you could gas up and not have to pay first. You gassed up first and then you paid later. Gassed up first, then you paid later. It's very simple. Okay. But a lot of times people were getting, it made life harder for the gas stations, because sometimes they catch people, sometimes they wouldn't. But people, a lot of times people would drive into the gas station, take their plates off, gas up, and drive away. So the moral of the story is, if money's not involved, then it's not business. If I go to the grocery store and I can't pay for I never forget, I was a kid and I'm in elementary school. I don't know better. I'm at a movie theater. I'm hungry. Um, and I want a hot dog. I'm going up to the front counter. I was like, yeah, I would like a hot dog and soda. And the guy's like, he puts his hand out like 8.75 or something like that. And I'm like, I'm just shaking my head. He's like, well, can't give it to you. So once again, if somebody wants you to vote for them and you're like, what's in it for me? And they're like, then I'm like, and I leave it at that. Okay. Just had to put that disclaimer out there. I know I sound radical when I say something like that. I don't know how I sound radical, but it's the American way. You work for something, you get something, but what do I know? I'm the crazy one, right? Anyways, nationwide, 2022, there are 161,000 Black-owned employer businesses in the United States of America, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Since this is a quote unquote economic channel, even though I don't give out financial advice, but I always say make money move. So you're going to live like a fool. I do mean that. It just makes perfect sense for me to put something out there like that. But I digress. I digress. All right. Now, next subject matter. And this would make my parents proud, especially given the fact that my parents are both in the United States Army, and my parents met in the United States Army. So it's a beautiful thing. Black Americans have served in every single war, whether they were paid officers, paid soldiers, or not paid soldiers. Remember that. We were in the French and Indian War. We were and this is before America was even considered a colony as far as on the continental shores of the United States of America. We served in the American Revolutionary War. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. Those are the first quote unquote wars on U.S. soil between European powers. Okay. The French and Indian War was between France and the UK, what we know as England / the UK. The Revolutionary War was between American colonists and the UK. All right, with help from the French to beat the UK, because business was being done. But anyways, I don't need to go into detail about that. But anyways, this is from the History Channel. They say it's about history. From the Battle of Lexington to the Battle of Fallujah, Black soldiers have honorably answered the call of duty, serving the great valor and distinction in the American armed forces. I could not agree with that statement more. The American story cannot be told without reflecting on the historical achievements made by Black Americans and preserving those memories. Black Americans have served and sacrificed in every conflict in our nation's history, with more than 245 years of honorable service. You're darn right. Black Americans who have defended our nation, the United States of America, a wonderful nation that it is, since the Revolutionary War, have built a legacy of courage and professionalism by serving the United States Army with great honor, distinction, inspiring generations to come. We recognize and honor the legacy always. And remember, they served the country at a time when they did not have 100% equal rights, and that's the beauty of um, that's what I call true American patriotism. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Where it still said, yeah, like military, police, colored. Um, so a great example, retired Lieutenant Colonel Michael Lee Lanning, author, the African American soldier from Crispus Attucks to Colin Powell. Um, it's a beautiful thing. Black history is an integral to Army history. Black Americans left an identifiable mark in history in our society. America has never fought a war in which Black Americans did not serve proudly. But throughout most of the American history, Black service members faced great adversity. Contributions to Black Americans to the birth of our nation were largely unrecorded and soon forgotten. After the Revolutionary War, Black Americans were virtually excluded from the military forces until they volunteered to serve during the War of 1812. Despite their heroism, they were again barred from the service until the Civil War, when the Emancipation Proclamation declared that they could join the armed forces to the United States of America. And that's just another thing. That's a story that's never really told. Like I said, always service to country. And although Blacks, with distinction in both world wars, racism and segregation continued when they returned home. Matter of fact, I believe that the first war where Blacks were not segregated in the United States military was Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. Where it wasn't like colored only regiments. They finally said, okay, they if whether you was in the Army, you was in the Marine Corps, U.S. Navy, it was a mixed forces by that time. But anyways, accounts of this racism and physical violence against these veterans garnered national attention. In 1948, President Harry Truman issued Executive Order 9981, which called for equality of treatment of the armed forces. Sanctioned segregation within the Army was no longer allowed. Okay, well, I stand corrected then. So segregation was actually barred from the Army in 1948. I thought it was on during the Vietnam War. So, okay, I learned. The Army simply could not accomplish its missions without the skill and dedication of all its members. We find our true strength in our ability to bring together people of different races, cultures, and faiths who share common values like duty, honor, selfless service, loyalty, and respect. Nothing but love and respect for that. That is real. We have the freedoms we have today because of the military. Buffalo Soldiers, that is, a matter of fact, a former co-worker / friend of mine, Kenneth Montgomery. I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying his name because this is something positive. He's been a member of the Buffalo Soldiers reenactments for years. I know he officially retired from work, so I don't know if he still does that on the side since he has more time on his hands. But the Buffalo Soldiers is a beautiful thing. And matter of fact, if you go to Houston, check out the Buffalo Soldiers Museum. I definitely had the honor of doing that, and it was a beautiful thing. I'll say that much. From the Buffalo Soldiers to the Tuskegee Airmen, we can never forget about them. Never forget about them. They were the first Black military aviators serving the United States Army Air Corps. We didn't know the Air Force actually came from the United States Army. Not knocking on the Air Force people, I'm just speaking history. But anyways, the airmen's success in escorting bombers during the World War II, WW2 is unmatched by other fighter group, having one of the lowest loss records of all escort fighter groups and being in constant demand for their services by Allied bomber units. One of the last remaining Tuskegee Airmen, Brigadier General Charles Edwards McGee, 1919 to 2022, was a veteran of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. McGee's extensive experience made him an accomplished public speaker, often taking time to talk to students. His formula for success, which he called the 4 Ps: perception, preparation, performance, and perseverance, is something every American could learn from. I agree. Um, I definitely agree with that. But let's get back to the Buffalo Soldiers. Um, yeah, let's get back to the Buffalo Soldiers. Now, they talked about this one female who I'm going to talk about, but um, I really want to, there we go. Buffalo. Really want to read, there we go. I really want to read the history of the Buffalo Soldiers. In 1866, Congress established the 6 all-black regiments, consolidated to 4 shortly after, to help rebuild the country after the Civil War and to fight on the western frontier during the Plains Wars. Basically, America went to war with the American Native Americans. Back then, they called them American Indians. It was from one of these regiments, the 10th Cavalry, that the nickname Buffalo Soldier was born. All right. It was actually, yeah, as I said, the name Buffalo Soldier was born. An African American served in the U.S. Army during the Civil War and continued to serve afterwards. Many of the soldiers went on to fight in the Spanish American War and the Philippine American War. Although the pay was low, only $13 a month, many African Americans enlisted because they could earn more and be treated with more dignity than they often received in civilian life. American Plains Indians who fought against the soldiers referred to the black cavalry troops as Buffalo Soldiers because of their dark curly hair, which resembled a buffalo coat, and because of their fierce nature of fighting. The nickname soon became synonymous with all African American regiments formed in 1866. In addition to their military duties, the Buffalo Soldiers also served as some of the first caretakers of the national parks. Between 1891 and 1913, the U.S. Army served as the official administrator of Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks. The soldiers were stationed at the Presidio of San Francisco during the winter months and then served in the Sierra during the summer months. And we're talking about the West Coast at the time where you didn't see that many Black Americans whatsoever. But that's my favorite part of the country, anyways. But anyways, while in the park, soldiers' duties included fighting wildfires, curbing poaching of the park's wildlife, ending illegal grazing of livestock on federal lands, and constructing roads, trail, and the infrastructure. Did not know that. So they had a lot to do with building infrastructure on the West Coast. In 1903, Captain Charles Young led a company of Buffalo Soldiers in Sequoia and General Grant, now Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. Young and his troops managed to complete more infrastructure improvements than those from the previous 3 years. They completed a road to the Grant Giant Forest and a road to the base of Morro Rock. Their work on these new roads and allowed the public to access the mountaintop forest for the first time. The Buffalo Soldiers Regiment went on to serve the U.S. Army with distinction and honor for nearly the next 9 decades. The storied, the storied Buffalo Soldiers regiments came to an end during the Korean War and the institution of Executive Order 9981. So it's nice. You had the 9th Cavalry, 10th Cavalry, 24th Infantry, U.S. Infantry, 25th U.S. Infantry, Buffalo Soldiers, the decades. I didn't realize that the reign lasted that long until the Korean War. That's amazing. That is amazing. So, anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. Something I don't talk about enough, and just have to give praise and credit and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, um, it's like being awarded the Medal of Honor. It's like you've had tanks in WW2, all black tank battalion known as the Black Panthers. They arrived in Europe. The all black battalion endured a record of 183 consecutive days in combat and liberated 30 towns on their mission into Germany. You're welcome, Europe. You're welcome. And I can go on and on about these stories. I love it. I know my father was alive. He'd love to tell more stories. He probably would have been in the army for 50 years. My mother loves to tell stories about being raised in military bases and being in the army. So nothing wrong with that at all. It's a beautiful thing. So many stories. So many stories. The last one I'll talk about in regards to Black history, because I know I'm going a little bit longer than I anticipated, was rest in peace to Colin Powell. I know he passed away recently. Was a distinguished Army officer who served in 2 tours in Vietnam, and at the end of his military career, was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1989 to 1993. Powell's acumen led him to become the 65th Secretary of State in the George W. Bush administration. Powell was the first Black American appointed to those posts and continued to be an inspiration for the following generations of leaders. And another reason why I like Colin Powell, and not just because, and the funny thing is, not because he was a Black man, definitely not because he was a Republican, because I think both parties are full of it, but I just like the fact that he always carried himself in a dignified manner. Like those days, like coming far and few in between, where people actually speak in an intelligent manner and actually act somewhat classy and being dignified, because we live in an era now where people of all races just act as ignorant as they can be. So I leave it at that. That's one thing I can say I miss about the 90s in the early 2000s, is that people still like to look like they took a shower and have some freaking class, dress up a little bit. But I digress. But that's it for that. Talked about Black businesses and getting funding. So last but not least, because I'm about to call it a night, Black Birmingham business mogul honored in the 20th annual A.G. Gaston Conference. Saw this article a couple of days ago, so I was like, I wanted to talk about it. Oh, yeah. Sorry, family. I didn't realize I didn't even have my music on. It's been so long. Go live, I always get cotton mouth. Always. All righty. Birmingham, Alabama. If standing on business was a person, it would be the late A.G. Gaston. Not only did he start his own and operate about 10 different businesses that employed throughout his history, hundreds, if not thousands of people, he actually know. Mr. Dickerson was one of those who Gaston employed at Citizens Federal Savings Bank. Bob Dickerson, who's a news anchor now. Mr. Dickerson said, I was over the loan department, but part of my job was making sure that people pay their loans. In fact, this was my first job at the bank. After years of business success himself, Dickerson started the Birmingham Business Resource Center, followed by the conference in A.G. Gaston's honor about 20 years ago. He stated, I thought we should do something for Gaston and his name in Birmingham, because what he meant to our community was something else. He stated the intent was to use the late Birmingham business mogul as an example to economically empower Black people through business ownership. This after decades of disenfranchisement due to racist policies. He said, so we wanted to do that in the end to make sure that other people understood the need for growing and developing Black businesses, supporting Black businesses. He says our theme was generally been economic empowerment through enterprise development, and we still believe that this is the key and something that we should be doing as a community. We should be feeding into and learning into this aspect of trying to grow Black companies, especially here in Birmingham, Alabama. So it's a great conference. Hopefully they don't just give a lot of good speeches. Hopefully that there's business actually being done, because there's always a conference going on. But my thing is always, hey, what's going on afterwards? I leave it at that. Every year we do something to help train the business community, and so one of the most encouraging things that he gets to do is when somebody that he loves, when somebody walks up to him and says, I was at the conference when such and such spoke up, when you said this or that, I made this connection at your conference. So yes, there are some good things that are coming out of the A.G. Gaston conference, Dickerson said. According to Dickerson, Gaston's success eventually came down to one simple idea: find a need and fill it. And you can do it too. The 20th A.G. Gaston conference was February 13th through the 14th, so it just happened recently because today's the 21st of February. So it's a beautiful thing. And if I was in Birmingham, I would have checked it out myself on some realness. But that's where we're at today, family. It's like, standing on business, talking about business, doing business, owning assets. If we're not talking about that, then what the hell are we talking about? We are just wasting time, family. And I don't know about you, but I'm not getting any younger, so I don't got time. I don't have time to be wasting time. But I'll leave it at that. I leave it at that. And this concludes Larry's Anything Goes. Black History Month. We did it after all. I'm going to do my best to get back in the habit of at least going live, if not once a week, definitely once every 2 weeks. All right. Because, I want my content to mean something more, not just got to get it out. So I'll leave it at that. All right. But that's where we're at as Black Americans. If you're a Black immigrant, if you're about standing on business, then you're cool in my book. If you don't have, as long as you don't have an arrogance and thinking that you're better than other people, you're cool in my book. You can teach me about your culture, and I can teach you about mine, and we can respect each other all at the same time. And there's no hate. It's just loving your culture, loving who you are doesn't mean you got to hate other people. Being proud to be Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Black, Hispanic, white, Italian. I worked around people that are like, yeah, I'm proud of my Italian descent. I'm proud of my Irish descent, Polish, German. Nothing wrong with that. Knowing your history is what it is. I know, like I said, my roots, as far as America goes, my roots are in Virginia and North Carolina, Connecticut, New York. And as far as the world, Africa, my roots are in Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. By me doing a DNA test and me looking up on the culture and whatnot. So, and guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. So stand on business. Do what you got to do in this life. Do the great thiefy things. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. And as I always say, make money moves. So you're going to live broad like a fool. Take care, family. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you're having a great day. If you've been watching Larry's Anything Goes programming, you know that we are not only providing great financial intelligence content as much as possible by interviewing other financial professionals in the travel industry, real estate industry, etc., and so forth, but we provide various services when it comes to specific products that we sell, from anything that you would actually find on Amazon or actually at Walmart, etc., and so forth. And we are actually providing specific products due to today's current crisis and whatnot to ensure that we provide the right services and products that you need at a reasonable price when it comes to medical face masks, when it comes to hand sanitizer, and when it comes to latex gloves and things of that nature, and etc., and so forth, toilet paper, paper towels. But we have what you need. Also, family, don't forget that Larry's Anything Goes is a part of an affiliate marketing network known as Gold Standard Partners, where you have the opportunity to buy cryptocurrency and allow others to invest with you as becoming an affiliate marketing partner. And obviously, if they purchase a package with the program, you're able to make money off their package purchases and make money off of their crypto purchases and things of that nature. If you want to join, please follow the links in the description, and I'll give you a call as soon as you sign up and purchase a package, and we'll go from there. But definitely, it's all about the best way to make money moves is to have currency with one another and to ensure that currency is always being spoken of on all levels so it benefits everyone and not just one specific person. That's a lot of things that people forget about. So think about joining the program and we'll be able to go from there. But if not, either way, it's always appreciated. And thank you for watching. And hopefully you guys have a great day and continuously make money moves so you don't live broke like a fool. Take care. As you can see, with our various products, we have our financial apparel, as you see, wearing There's Anything Goes t-shirt, Financial Intelligence is Sexy, face masks, latex gloves, things of that nature to obviously ensure the safety of you and your family all at the same time. We want to ensure that you get the best products and see the actual products that we're actually providing for you, and giving you another view of not only the shirts and the medical masks, but actually another view of actual latex gloves and the actual hand sanitizer. Because one thing we've learned throughout this unfortunate crisis is that we have to take more precautionary measures to ensure not only the safety for ourselves, but for our families. And having a great pair of hand sanitizers, latex gloves, and medical face masks will ensure that safety. And with all that being said, hopefully you guys will check out our online store. We have the various products that you see here. With a couple of clicks, especially if you're paying via PayPal, it makes life that much easier for you to purchase our various products, especially during this unfortunate situation. You see the apparel from Larry's Anything Goes. We have the medical products when it comes to hand sanitizer, latex gloves, medical face masks, and things of that nature, and various other products. So please check out Larry's Anything Goes. Support small local businesses. We greatly appreciate it, and hopefully that you have a good day.